So there's one thing that I often think about when I hold my clock, and that's healthcare. That's because health-related companies like pharmaceuticals indirectly profit from human fragility. And then I think about how I'm investing in war profits, and that's what I call death ETFs. And then I think, I didn't buy any of those yet, but should I consider them?
So I'm on my way to Elite Shooting Sports over in Manassas, Virginia, and they're gonna permanently close down tomorrow, April 23rd. So I'm gonna go and get some last shots in while I can. With respect to guns, I'm pretty pro about it. I mean, I really feel that a lot of people that goes around and do shootouts and everything at schools actually come from a background of mental health disability or disease or troubles.
I tried to end my life by overdosing on anything I could find in the medicine.
History, I mean, as a human society, we haven't handled mental issues very well.
Her parents took action, reaching out to Dr. Slater for more support and a higher dose of anti-anxiety medication.
So we're seeing some pretty crazy things with mental health, and here I pulled up the National Library of Medicine, and they have two figures here. SCHG basically stands for second generation antipsychotics, and we could see the rise go from 10% over 97 to 55% about over in 2016, so that's a pretty crazy increase. Similarly, when we see the use of antidepressants without mood stabilizers, antidepressants without antipsychotics, they've all been in the rise, especially with antidepressants went from 45% to 62 to 65%. So that makes me think, alright, now that we know this trend, I can really profit from this by investing in the right companies. Healthcare really benefits since they're gonna be the ones that's gonna be making off money off prescriptions, right? Because if you think about it, when I was younger, when I was like in my childhood, nobody ever talked about depression, ADHD, ADD and stuff. It's only really been around the last 10 years. That's even a conversation, and maybe it's a right conversation, and maybe it was always there, but we just never saw it. But I really think that now with screens and everything, kids just need to stay off the screens more and actually go outside more, like what I used to do when I was a kid. People who are actually profiting from all of this, maybe they won't profit as much if we actually raise kids right. So those are just some thoughts I always have whenever I go to the shooting range, because, you know, with the war in Ukraine going on, you really think about who's the people that are going to be ultimately beneficial, profitable from all this. And my mind always goes to healthcare, because, you know, when you have fragile human beings who get shot and they need to recover, or they have kind of like PTSD, they need drugs. And who's going to provide those drugs? Yeah, the pharmaceutical companies. So knowing that healthcare companies are ultimately the ones who are going to be super beneficial and profitable from mental health issues, from selling drugs, I went on and asked ChatGPT, who are the major distributors of antidepressants, mood stabilizers, and antipsychotics? And the companies that they came up with are companies that we all know quite well. Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, AbbVie, Novartis, Merck, and Roche. And furthermore, if we go and take a look at Vanguard Healthcare ETF, which is one of the ones that I would recommend if you're going to get into this, you could see that Johnson & Johnson, AbbVie, Eli Lilly, Merck, Pfizer are under top 15 holdings. I talk like I'm against pharmaceutical companies and healthcare and all that stuff. No, I'm actually not. You know, I'm coming from Canada where we have free healthcare, and that's great. Because I had a friend, or you could kind of say an acquaintance at one point, and she was bipolar. So when she went off her medication, everything went to hell with her. I mean, like, everyone around her just suffered. She was married and she had a husband, and he found out because she got off her medication. She was very hard to communicate with, and she started having affairs with multiple guys. She lost her job. She ended up cussing out the cops or something, and she ultimately went to jail. So ultimately, it was medication that brought her back to reality and got her stable. So I'm not saying that, you know, medication is bad or anything. There are some purposes where medication is indeed very helpful, and that was one of the purposes. But I think that kind of nowadays, it really feels like people are putting profit over people, and, you know, they're just throwing prescriptions left and right to kids where parents didn't really ask the question, do they really need it? Are the doctors actually right? Or do they really want to just make a profit here? So I think the real question that needs to be asked is not being asked. So it really is kind of a moral question with regards to investing in healthcare. But if you guys are looking to invest into healthcare and you're looking at ETFs, is VHT a good ETF for you to get into? And the answer to that is no, it's actually not. And if we read over here at ETFTB, VHT probably isn't all that useful in a long-term buy and hold portfolio. This fund is more attractive to those to put a tactical tilt towards healthcare stocks in place or as a tool in a sector rotation strategy. What you should look at is Schwab, SCHG, which has a lot of the pharmaceutical companies in top of other technology companies that make up the large caps. And if you're going to invest long-term, I feel like this is a better pick. Health companies aren't all bad. Remember that acquaintance of mine? Well, she was a nurse, and because she got off her medication, she lost her job, lost her family, lost her relationship, she lost everything. But it was also her medication that got her back on track. Now she has a functioning and it looks like an apparently loving relationship with her new boyfriend. She found another job as a nurse, and I know what you're thinking, but that's a story for another time. But I think that medication at the end of the day is needed for certain purposes. But do I think that everybody needs it? Everybody that has ADHD or let's say ADD or has depression? No, I don't really think so, especially for our kids. I don't think they need it. I just think that they might need a little bit less screen time and to go outside a little bit more. Well guys, those are just my opinions, and my opinions aren't that important. What's important are your opinions, and let me know your opinions in the comments below. Other than that, don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button because you're gonna get a notification of our next video where we visit the Arlington National Cemetery, and you're gonna look for it right here.